All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rooftops of America live stream. Hope everybody's doing all right tonight. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Um, and let's get this thing on the road. So, since I last spoke with you, there has been some developments, a lot of developments uh, around the high pointing community or high pointing world, and myself personally. So, first things first is why I postponed last week was still in recovery for summiting Katahdin. Me and my best friend Matt made it up to the top of Katahdin. It was quite epic, and it was a whirlwind trip. It was exhausting, is what it was. Not only the hike, but the drive up the day before and the drive back the day after. Um, it's sort of hard to. It was. Let's put it this way. It's 620 miles from where I live in Pennsylvania to Millinocket, Maine, and so that's 1,240 when you're all said and done. It's a lot of miles to drive and put a hike in it. But we got started that Thursday. I think it was September 19th. Yeah. Got started that Thursday bright and early. We drove up. We got there early enough where we were actually able to film 8 pages of the episode out of a 11 and a half page script. We got majority of it, 2/3 of it knocked out on that Thursday. And then the following day, we got up bright and early. Well, not too bright and early. That was one of the weird things about it. The following day, we got up, got to the front gate. I think we were like the fifth car. We got there around 5:30 and chilled out. By the time we got to Katahdin Stream and stepped off, it was 7. We stepped off at 7 o'clock and then started to hike up the Hunt Trail to the summit. And so a little background, my best friend Matt Keating went with me. He's gone to other high points with me, but nothing like this. And needless to say, I think if he would have had a better understanding of what he was getting into, he may not have went. But he did, and he was game for the whole thing. We worked our way up the Hunt Trail. It actually took us. I expect Katahdin was everything I thought it would be and more, both good and bad. I didn't realize how much time we would chew up in the gateway. Like the hike started off great. We were just rolling right along. And then when we got into the boulder scrambling section, man, we chewed up time. In fact, we made it to the tablelands at about 1, a little after 1. Right where I basically said, our turnaround time is 1. But we made it. We decided once we got there, because it was pretty epic. Like I didn't expect the level of scrambling that you'd have to do to get up the Hunt Trail. It's funny because I kept comparing it to Marcy, and I've got thoughts on that, and I'll save them till after this sort of impromptu trip report. But yeah, it was nothing like Marcy. But man, so it was cool. It was epic. It had great views. We had brilliant weather, and I'm glad we did take the Hunt Trail going up. We made it all the way up, and then we decided, you know what? We're already on the tableland. We can see the summit. We got really good weather, so we hiked across that. Matt was Matt was a hurting unit. He was cramping in both his quads and his calves, but we were game for it, and we made it to the summit around 2-ish, quarter after 2. It took us another hour from when we got to the tableland across to the summit, and did what we needed to do up there. And then as we were going up, we kept talking to folks saying, take Abel down. And we're like, all right, because Abel is shorter and the same amount of work, I think. But dropping down, we were able to drop down it fairly quick. And eventually, it took us, we stepped out into the Abel campground at 7 p.m. So literally it was 12 hours from the start of the hunt to stepping out off the trail into Abel campground. So epic day. I have to confess, parts of the Abel trail, especially the new stuff they put in after the rock slide, they actually discovered what switchbacks were, and that was amazing. So if you ever go and you have 2 cars available, I would, consider parking one at the day use area at Abel if possible, or whatever, and doing that hunt to Abel route. What we ended up doing was, because I had not a care in the world by that time, was going to campsite and like, hey, we need to ride to Katahdin Stream. We'll pay you. And we actually had 2 folks, Kyle and Michael, in the second campsite I actually approached, who shuttled us over to Katahdin Stream. We ended up paying them $40. They didn't ask for anything. They were like, no. And we insisted. And I tell you what, best $40 I spent that day. Probably the best $40 I spent the month of September. Because that saved us a headlamp hike down from Abel Campground down the road to Katahdin Stream, which, man, that was worth its weight in gold. So the thoughts on Katahdin as a whole, that mountain's brilliant. I can see why it captured the imagination of so many, like, I can't think of Church's first name, but the artist in the 1800s, Church. I can see why that captured his imagination. I can see why, it's pulled so many people for so long, because it's just amazing. It's incredible. That tableland, once you break out to the top on the tableland, that will clearly go down as one of my all-time favorite high pointing experiences, because it's so like you're doing all this work and then you get to basically, it's like you're stepping out into the Highlands of Scotland. And it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It was, now the question between Marcy and Katahdin. Katahdin's harder, but Marcy's more annoying. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Katahdin, I think we definitely put more work, but the type of work you put in is different. You hike, you scramble, you get a cool hike on the top, and the trails are overall like better. There's parts when you're down lower, you can just roll along. Where with Marcy, once you start going up, it just sucks, and it sucks for so long, and it sucks on the way down until you get back past the Marcy Dam. So I would happily go back and hike Katahdin. I would not want to go back and do Marcy. So interesting. It was a really interesting thought. It's like, this is definitely more work, and Katahdin is a harder peak. But man, Marcy is so much more annoying. And real quick before I forget, my partner in crime today is Knife Edge Brewing. Their Moon Shadow. It's a session IPA. Nice golden color. Got it at the brewery. over by Millinocket Lake right after we finished. They had excellent pizza and the beer was awesome. So definitely worth the stop if you get up there. But overall, like the next day we got up, following day we got up early. We cleared out of the Airbnb, which was a really cool cabin on Millinocket Lake. I wish we would have had another day to enjoy the fire pit, to enjoy the canoe, but we didn't. But we finished out filming along the Penobscot River, and then we headed back. So it was really cool. Like there's a couple of cool things I'll be thinking of Katahdin for a while. And one of them goes to CTOS there, where he made a mention in an earlier comment about being up in Maine and encountering Stephen King's horrors. And there was a point coming down the Able Trail where the sun was definitely setting, and you had that rich light coming through the leaves, and the fall colors, the autumn colors are starting. I bet you it's peak right now, but the colors were in play. And you get that autumn smell and the wind's coming through. And it was at that point I'm like, if one of the bogeys step out right now, one of Stephen King's great, cosmic horrors would step out of the woods right now, I totally would expect nothing but. So it was a cool experience. Like Katahdin was a great capstone for this year. I know I'm going to do Guadalupe Peak in November, but Katahdin for the last new peak of the year, it was a great way to finish out. So, yeah, I wish we could have got Roaring Brook up Saddle, and I'd love to try that route at some point. But overall, the way we went up Hunt, down Able, made for a great experience, made for great filming. And, we had a lot of fun encounters with thru hikers, because there was a good deal of thru hikers out there. Boomerang, Cheddar Dog, Parachute, I'm trying to think. Lug Nut and Speed Goat were another couple. But yeah, it was great to talk to them too, and hear about their experiences. And it did definitely sort of reinforce the fact with some of them, I was like, you just covered 2,189 miles. And here you are, this literally is your capstone, trying to get up Katahdin and down. Yeah, it's an aggressive little peak. I get why it has the reputation it has. So let's see. Hey, Eric, I'm glad you're here. Hey, Pretzel, glad you're here too. Traveling Rodman, thanks for stopping in, man. Sam, hello. Have you heard about the Katahdin movie coming out in 1 month, Lost on a Mountain in Maine? Just read the book to my daughter high pointing partner. I have not. That sounds pretty cool. My favorite, it's funny, because my favorite little thing I told somebody about there was about the Henry David Thoreau. And the name of that movie, Lost on a Mountain in Maine, sort of reminds me of Thoreau's experience on Katahdin, and how it basically gives him an existential crisis, and how, his whole transcendental point of view about nature, he's never able, once he experiences Katahdin, he's never able to justify his view of nature towards humans and humans towards nature, because Katahdin throws a wrench into it, which is pretty funny. So, who else? County High Point, Mount Tamalpais, and the county close to San Francisco. It's on the north side of the Golden Gate Bridge. That's pretty cool. Yeah, thanks, Eric. Yeah, Katahdin Marcy, definitely. One's an apple, one's an orange. They're both fruit, but one is definitely more annoying than the other. Did Baxter have any restaurants in it? If yes, are they any good? No. There's Baxter State Park itself doesn't. If I was to do it again, I would definitely camp. I would definitely get a site the night before and camp. Um, but I will recommend that the Knife Edge Brewery is really good. That's over by Millinocket Lake as you're driving back out towards Millinocket. And we did have breakfast at the Appalachian Trail Cafe in downtown Millinocket the morning after. And that was really good too. So, hey, CTOS, glad you're here. And Nicholas, have any of you guys gone up Hamlin to get to Katahdin? There was a person I met on the mountain. Her name was Dr. Amanda. Ah, shoot, I can't think of her name, her last name. But that was her fifth time up the mountain, and she had taken every trail to get to the summit. So I bet you she did. Is Katahdin day hike feasible? For reference, Mark. Pretzel, I'm the slowest man on the mountain, and it took us 12 hours. If you do it, I bet you it is, especially if you go for something like Roaring Brook up Saddle. I bet you could do it as a day hike. It was weird because it felt weird to be stepping off at 7 in the morning. Because I don't. Like, I always start earlier. So that was actually slightly disconcerting, was actually trying to get off the mountain as daylight's fading, as that old Counting Crows song goes. But so it was weird to be we didn't have to use headlamps, but 10 more minutes, we would have had those things on. So it took us 12 hours with the filming, with the conversations and all that. So if you're faster than me, and I bet you are, yes, you can do Katahdin as a day hike. Marcy for me was longer. Marcy for me took 15 hours to include all the filming. And speaking of Marcy, I know I was supposed to have that out on September 15th, but that didn't happen. What did happen is I finished writing the main stuff. But I am very happy to say that Marcy will most assuredly, unless my computer dies, be out on the 1st of October. It's a long one. It turned out to be quite an epic episode. So there's a lot of stuff. Apparently, I had a lot of stuff to say about Marcy. So that's coming out on the 1st. Pretty excited about it. So Katahdin was shorter. Mileage-wise, yes, Katahdin is shorter. I think when it was all said and done, it was like 11 miles. No. Yeah, it must have been about 10, 11. I'm going to have to do the measurement, actually add up, because I know the route we were going to do up Hunt Trail was 5.2. 5. I want to say it says 5.2, but it's actually slightly longer, somebody said. But it's around 10 and a half, 11. And Abel's shorter. So, but yeah, it was still a full day. Definitely a full day. Last weekend I did Skyline Loop at Mount Rainier North National Park and Maple Pass Loop at North Cascades National Park. Highly recommend. I bet you it was gorgeous. I bet you that was really pretty. Was that because the shorter hiker did Marcy just have more footage to get? Marcy was me shooting by myself. Always harder. Always takes more time. When I'm filming by myself, it does actually take more time. So that probably had something to do with it. Hey, David. Glad you're here. So what else has happened? Well, the hurricane happened. And I don't know if you've all heard, but North Carolina and Tennessee, if you got plans there, you might want to put them off till next year because those areas, I believe Georgia too, are wrecked. but definitely North Carolina, Tennessee. They got rolled, and they got rolled hard. I have friends down in that area in Asheville, and they're devastated. Like, the area is just so. Any thoughts about Mitchell or Klingman's Dome or Kauai, I believe now is. Um, you'll probably want to postpone them. And Kauai is the other thing that just happened recently. The official name change, going back to the Cherokee name for the peak formerly known as Klingman's Dome, which I'm okay with. Because I never liked Klingman's Dome in the first name. The dome part didn't bother me. But I always found it really, really funny that Klingman, like the Tennessee State High Point, was named after a guy that had nothing to do with Tennessee. So that part always annoyed me a little bit. Plus, you throw in the whole Confederate thing and slave owner, all that. You got a pretty compelling case. So the Mulberry Place is back. So that is true. The National Park High Point for Smokies is in North Carolina. So, Pretzel, that reminds me of those shots where you're walking off on the hike. Those kind of bug me because I realize you sometimes have to walk back to get. Yeah, that's movie magic. That's the movie magic. So it's the reason those shots are fun to do is because people, when they're viewing things, they like to see that progression. And I've tweaked that. You won't actually find a single one of those in Mount Marcy because I didn't shoot that like that. Marcy's, I shot it differently because I was solo and I knew it was going to be a super long day regardless. And those shots actually take time to set up, get everything rolling, come back. And so, with that in mind, I didn't do a single one of those for Marcy. We did do some of those for Katahdin, but there I had my best friend Matt with me, so he's able to man the camera. They're always easier to pull those sort of things off when you do have a crew. Get somebody to hike ahead, shoot down, But they make great transition pieces because it shows the forward, the continuing journey, etc., and then you transition to something else. So there is a logic behind those. What else has gone on? Well, hurricane, changing names, Katahdin. There's two other big announcements I have. The pressing one is the fact that, guess what, folks? We do now have a merch. I have a store. In fact, let's see. There it is. I'll throw it in the chat. So there are now Rooftops of America t-shirts in 3 different models right now. 3. There will be a 4th coming, but there are 3 different types. And there are some coffee mugs. There'll be more, and there'll probably be hats and other stuff as I get around to incorporating the design into it. So I'm pretty stoked. Like, I heard the cries. I know people have asked for this for a while, and it was funny, like driving back from Maine, and talking to Keating, and he can only listen to me sing so many songs before we have to have like genuine conversation, and I realized that I really should pull the trigger and do something, get some merch on the. Get some merch out there. So I've done it. I'm hoping that you all like the designs. These are prone. They might, I love feedback on that stuff. I will, there'll probably be adjustments made down the road, but for the right now, I'm going to put out 4. Like I said, 3 are already up. The 4th will be coming very soon. And they are, yeah, they're out there in a variety of hoodies, sweatshirts, short sleeve shirts, different types. Um, I'd love to get feedback. If there's something that is missing, I'll adjust. But yeah, so there we go. So merch. That's announcement number one. I hear it makes a great stocking stuffer. Yes. Was the drive to Katahdin the farthest you've driven for a one high point trip? No, actually not. Close. But in one day, I drove from where were we living? I think we were in, yeah, we were in Nashville. Like we were in West Side Nashville. No, wait a second. Let me think. No, I guess we were. Yeah, we were living on West Side Nashville. I got up stupid early, drove all the way to Driscoll Mountain, filmed it, and like it's a short episode. It's not like it's an episode I have to go back and actually make into like a good 23-minute. I don't think I can get 47 out of it. I can definitely get 23. Um, Drove all the way there, hiked it, filmed it, and drove all the way back. Uh, Along with stopping in Monroe, Louisiana to go to a beer store that was highly recommended at the time. So that is the longest. I think I was gone for 22 hours. It was a 22-hour day. But that drive from West Nash all the way to Driscoll Mountain and back is the longest I've ever done for a one-day high point trip. The other contender would have been, I don't think it's as long. The other contender for a one day was Mount Rogers from Nashville. Yeah, that was a one day too. No, was it? Let me think. Yeah, that was. It was. Crazy. So I have stickers, Ron. I actually ordered stickers out of Sticker Mule, but I'm going to get stickers set up on Bonfire too. So I do have stickers, but they're going to be in a stack by me. So I will probably see you again sometime in the near future. So you will definitely get one. And I'll have to figure out how to get you guys stickers that want one. When it gets close to Christmas, and I ask for everybody's addresses to send Christmas cards to, you'll probably get a sticker packet. So there you go. So the sticker is actually just like the Embrace the Color shirt, but it has a border around it and rounded edges. So it's a little, I think it's about 3x3, whatever. So, but yeah, the believe it or not, the when we all met up at Little Buffalo State Park and everybody's handing out stickers, I never forgot. I was like, I wish I had that. I wish I had that. And I even talked about that on Katahdin with Keating, like, man, I wish I had stickers to hand out. So, Pretzel, Massachusetts, New York, Rhode Island, Vermont, Alaska. Those are the ones I've marked that you haven't done. Is that? No, I've done Massachusetts, did New York, did Rhode Island, Vermont. Those are all done. Maine was the last one in the eastern U.S. So I am now down to. I did Utah too. So I'm down to the upper left, plus Hawaii and Alaska. And then the territories, American Samoa, Northern Marianas, and Guam. So there's 10 left, which is incredible. It's sort of, I think I might end up having to do a little synopsis of, getting into the final countdown, the final 10 of this crazy adventure. So I did Utah back in August. That was August 2 years ago, August 2022. No, it took 2 years to get that thing out. August 2021? No, that's not right. 2022. Must have been 2022. That's right. It was 2022. Did California recently. That was the end of July. Massachusetts, Greylock was 2021. I'd have to look. So, but the map is pretty complete. And in fact, if I'm going to redo the map, I'm going to basically have to adjust to which ones I need to go back to refilm to get the episode up to snuff. I'm hoping we'll refilm Texas in November, and that'll be my last probably high point for this year is Texas in November. It gives me the benefit of going and seeing my brother at Fort Bliss too, which is half the reason. And then we got, I think I'd like to do Charles Mound in February next year, because I always felt a winter ascent of Charles Mound is one of these things that just it sounds funny. I've already got two summer ascents on it. Why not get a winter one? And it's funny. Speaking of, to go back to Katahdin real quick, on that Sunday, as I was taking Keating to the airport to fly out, I did let him bag Ebright Azimuth. So, in fact, his comment was, as we were driving to it, I didn't tell him we were going to stop there. We drove to it, literally drove right by it. He didn't have an idea. We parked off, or no, we hadn't drove right by it. That's right, because you're coming down. We pulled off on Gateway, parked, walked up the sidewalk, and he's like, "Why are we here?" Like, and I'm just like, "Just don't worry, man. We gotta just walk up this little sidewalk." And we're walking along, and I had mentioned to him, I believe I had mentioned to him on Katahdin, I'm like, high points, all shapes and sizes, and I'm like, you get something awesome like this, and then you get Ebright Azimuth, and he's like, blah blah blah, sort of flew by. It wasn't, something of that he really put two and two together until we literally walked up the sign, and I'm like, and here it is, the highest point of Delaware. And he looks over and he's like, "Are you serious?" I feel like for a lot of people, that really is the expectation with Ebright Azimuth of, "Are you serious?" Yes, yes, we are. So he did get two. He did get two. Let's see. So yeah, 43 for me is where I'm at, and so you're at 42 pretzel. That's awesome. 16 left. Okay, so you're okay. Never mind. I'm tracking. Don't worry, Ron, man. You got plenty of time. That's right. You did get to Ebright Azimuth after you left. After we went our separate ways. Garrett is still at 40 high points. All this is awesome. I've never been to the Highway Bar when I went to Ebright. I should stop in there. I managed to get to Ebright on a fairly regular basis. It's probably going to be. It'll soon probably pass up Tombs Hill as my most visited high point. And I drive by it like all the time. So which is your next new high point? I really think it is Hood in May, like you mentioned further up, Eric. I am going to try to push for Hood in May. I'd like to do next year Hood, Bora, and Granite if possible. Hood and Bora for sure, absolutely for sure. Granite, I got to do a little more research on, get a little more intel, maybe try to find somebody that's done it and go get him to come with me. No, that's 43. I did California, July 31st, August 1st. Stayed at Trail Camp 12-3. Summited the following day. So we stepped off July 30th, summited on July 31st. And actually, I flew out August 1st, that following day, out of San Diego. That just happened. It's sort of funny, like to go from Marcy to Whitney, then to Katahdin. and the comparison of each one of those was pretty wild. So, I mean, honestly, thinking about Whitney now after that Katahdin experience, that's a really tame. I don't want to say it's a really tame hike, but all things considered, the trail, like I had mentioned, I can't remember who I said it to, but the Whitney Trail is made for pack animals, and it shows. Like the shallow grade, the whole works. Like you can definitely that standard route, was cut and carved to get pack animals to the summit. So those 10K peaks you've gone to, do they all have crowds when you go to them? The only ones I've ever seen with crowds was Elbert and Whitney. Those two for sure. And the first time we went up on Humphreys in 2016, there was a lot of people up there. But the second time, we were the second group up, and it was pretty sparse. It was nice. So not a lot of people up on Wheeler when we went. There was a decent amount of people up on Boundary because there was a high pointing group. I know Michael Krautz, who's in the 50 state high pointing group. He was up there. Trying to think, I think Tammy Stagman was up there too. But most of them, it's never been too much of a challenge to film on, except Whitney was a little annoying. Not because there was a group there, but because I had forgotten the wireless mic set. Crowded ones this year. Marcy was crowded. Katahdin, there was a good group of people still up there. Even by the time we got there late, there were still folks up there and more coming. And then, yeah, like it's an interesting thing to really sort of parse through which ones are crowded, which ones are not. I'd love to say Ebright Azimuth is one of the least crowded high points I've ever been to, but the traffic's always going by. So, I'm at 43.2. We'll probably finish around the same year. I've done Hawaii and Idaho, not California, Nevada. Otherwise, the same high points. That's interesting. That's good to know, Eric. When you did Hawaii, did you start? Where did you start? Did you start at? Did you hike? Did you drive? Did you drive and then hike, or did you? Because I know some folks have I saw somebody just recently. They wanted to do the whole thing. I'm like, that's a lot. I don't know if I want to do the whole thing, but I'm thinking I might consider. I'm thinking of considering the hike from the visitor center up. When I summited Whitney, there's a guy up there with a guitar playing some songs. I found that a little strange. Whitney strikes me as one of these peaks where strange shit happens. Excuse my language. I feel like Elbert could be that way too. Like Elbert, when we were up there, it was like this party atmosphere. Like this, it was wild. Like there were so many people up there. It was really disconcerting. Jeeped it all the way to the top. Nice. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how I want to proceed with Hawaii, because I feel you can't just do Mauna Kea. You got to give Mauna Loa some consideration as well. And there's so much cool history in Hawaii, and such a cool geological story as well. Like there's the culture, the history, the geology. It really is this great encapsulation of everything that I want Rooftops of America to be. Plus you have Mauna Kea, and plus you have Mauna Loa, and both of those require some consideration on how I want to go about it. So I'll tackle that at some point. Our family vacation to Hawaii is not going to be this next year. We're doing Key West. It's going to be the following year to Hawaii. So looking out to the final bit, especially the CONUS stuff, I'd love to get Hood, like I said, Hood, Bora, and Granite if possible. And the following year, pick up Gannett, Hawaii, and Washington, Rainier. Not necessarily in that order. And then Mexico and Alaska. And at some point, figure out the rest of the territories. The territories, the Pacific territories, are probably going to be some of the last things I do in the series, because they require that full commitment. With the exception of Guam and Agrahan, which you can sort of lump the two of those together. You can't do that with American Samoa. Technically, I suppose I could do Hawaii and American Samoa, but I just don't see that working like that. So, isn't there a new route up Granite that doesn't require as much roping up now? Yes, there is the ramp route. So more research is due. I feel Granite's one of these ones that I just got to get smart. Guam, Mary, or the Northern Marias and Samoa, how do you plan to do those? Get enough time on my calendar to take vacation, save up some money. Guam and the Northern Marianas recruit folks to do it with me. So I know we've talked about that one before in the past. And I could, coming up next year, I'll probably dedicate a full live stream to literally talking about the plan. So I feel like if we got to start planning this, if we're going to do it, but it's not going to just be me or, like the foursome, like there's going to be a call to keep costs down. We're going to need to rope some folks into this. So the American Samoa High Point is also the National Park High Point. Yep. I believe it's on Tao Island. So that one is almost like the trial run in some ways to what you can expect on Agrahan. So, but yeah. No, the entirety of the American Samoa is not a national park. No. Where Pago Pago is, that's completely, I don't know if the whole island is covered by the city, but there's a substantial, for down in that area, a substantial city there. So American Samoa can't remember how many islands are included in with it. I think there's 2 or 3 major islands. So, but to get there is no easy trip. Requires quite the commitment. So, now for the other big announcement. The other big announcement is I'm exhausted. So I'm going to take a step back, not making content. Like content's going to still come out, hopefully a little faster than it has been coming out. But the live stream is going to take a step back for the next couple months. So there is going to be, over in October, November, December, I'm going to do 3. One for each holiday, I guess you'd say. There'll be a Halloween live stream. There'll be a Thanksgiving one. And then there will be a Christmas/New Year's one. But I'd like, I'm feeling a little burnt out. And not from Rooftops of America stuff, but work stuff and everything added up. So I'm going to take a step back for a little bit. And you'll see me a little bit less. So the next time we do this will be at the end of October around Halloween. I think it'll be the 27th, so right before Halloween. And the same goes for November, tail end right after Thanksgiving, and then right after Christmas before New Year's. And we'll we'll do one a month, and then starting in the new year, we'll pick it back up and get back on track. But I realized, part of the one of the things with the long drive is you have time to think, and I realized that I'm feeling it right now. So um, I think this will be good in general to come back a little re-energized, revitalized, and ready to get out there and do more Rooftops of America stuff. But what you can expect, hopefully, is like I said, Marcy's coming out 1 October, 1 November. You will see the Katahdin episode, and then you'll get the believe it or not, finally, the series episode to wrap up Rooftops of the Solar System, because it's been forever and I've promised that thing and I need to get it done. So, did you get Puerto Rico's high point? I did. And it was brilliant, and that episode still needs to come out. So, another reason I need to take a break is because I got a lot of stuff I got to get caught up on, and I need some time to do it. So, in the meantime, um, there'll be stuff coming out, and you'll see regular updates on the channel. But for the live stream, we're going to take a small little hiatus, and I will see you guys right before Halloween. Thanks for all being here tonight. I really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.